it was a really interesting time to join the military. It was a really interesting time. Like I said, September 11th happened while I was in basic training. And I knew that nothing was going to be the same after that. And I just didn't know how. And I couldn't have predicted it went this way. But as I said before, I got to do everything. I got to learn all of the, it's funny because when I joined as an electronic intelligence guy, I had to get briefed by the recruiter in the back room. They only had one guy who had a clearance who could brief us and say, like, here's what you're going into. And I was instantly hearing like the James Bond music, being like a 17-year-old kid. I was hearing like that. And I was like, oh man, this guy's got to take me in the back room and he's got to brief me up. And that's awesome. Like I initially had went there to become an MP, and I was 16 at the time, being a dumb kid, I'd just forgotten my driver's license. And they're like, well, we can't sign you up for anything at MEPS here until you come back with your driver's license. We're at Minneapolis, so you can only come back every quarter. So I was like, I got to get out of here when I graduate from high school. Like I was in North Dakota. I was like, just how do I get out of here? They're like, well, you scored really well in the ASVAB. We can put you in this military intelligence stuff. So I heard the James Bond music and I had all of these ideas about what I was going to be doing. And for the first 6 years, it was the direct opposite of that. It was really that Cold War setting, and it was going to work with starched, fatigues, BDUs, and sitting in front of a computer. And I really hated that. And then it morphed into exactly what I thought it was going to be by the end. So it was awesome. And but yeah, to answer your question, it was trying to nail down the asymmetric nature of that warfare, which really we were just unprepared for. We didn't have a great idea that the threat was going to evolve that way. There are people who talked about it, but you mentioned it before, and the nation building stuff I don't believe works. Period. Well, I did my first few deployments. In fact, I missed the birth of my son during my second deployment to Iraq, and that really led me. That was kind of a turning point where I started to reassess the reasons why I was in the military and what I was doing, and I thought it was going to lead to me leaving. So I started, I mean, again, addictive personality. I went back and read as much as I could about nation states, Rome, the whole thing, all the way up to modernity. And I thought it was going to go the opposite way. I thought I was going to get done doing that in my spare time while I was deployed. And spare time, an hour a night or 2 hours a night, I might be able to read, or while I was sitting at a desk not doing anything, I was reading. And I went back to reading like John Locke and Leviathan and Montesquieu and all of these people that the founders said they based this country on. And when I got through with it, I actually re-enlisted while I was there. I was really upset about being gone, missing my son's birth, and I wasn't willing to just walk away from service. But I thought I was going to talk myself into it when I went down that road. And by the end of it, when I figured out how unique the American experience is and how blessed we are to be in this country, that was kind of a turning point for me. But and again, when I kind of arrived at that endpoint, I immediately told the colonel I was working for at the time, hey, I'm going to re-enlist while I'm out here. And so I did that. But then what came with that, and to answer your question, and again, I have no short answers, and I apologize to your listeners. Like, feel free to turn me off.
You're good. Hey, that's the whole point, Bill. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So what I got to there was it almost never works. The nation building thing, or if it does, it works in doses, or it works because of factors and influences that were outside of the actual imposing forces. The imposing force that was trying to do that wasn't the actual reason that the freedom happened, if you can put it that way. It was actually other things. You asked a big question about, 22 years of observing warfare and these changes. And in the final analysis, I wonder what we did in some of these places, and that keeps me up at night. I wonder how much change we affected. I wonder what the reasons were and what the right reasons were. I think Afghanistan, I sleep better thinking about. Iraq, I don't sleep as well thinking about. The Southern Philippines, I'm fine with. I actually think that's one good way to conduct warfare, is go enable the other people to do it on our behalf, and not actually engage. if we're going to go that route. But Iraq, I thought about a lot, and I actually went back, 2 more times after that deployment. But it's someone's far smarter than I is going to have to dive into that, because where I am now is I don't know. It seems to be beyond my reach.